Hello again, ladies. Welcome to video 13, the first one after our first real tournament. Hopefully there will be some things today that I go over from the past that you're ready to hear as though they're brand new now that we have the experience of competitive play behind us. Today's topic is to have a plan. This is something that people that are good do very intentionally sometimes and very unintentionally others, but they're constantly doing it. And people that end up being kind of mediocre tend to be a lot of times without a plan, that is. So let's go over some of the things and ways that people that are good are doing this. Number one, I've talked to you about player-directed goals. Player-directed goals are something that really good people or people who are on their way to being really good, they obsess about things. It really bothers them that they haven't mastered a short serve or that they haven't figured out how to deal with a certain situation. They absolutely have to know how to succeed in all the situations they're aware of. And things that they come up against again and again where they fail, that will take their life off the rails until they figure out how to do it. So their player-directed goals are things that are very natural for them. And so we're doing player-directed goals so that we're doing things, we're putting in our mind the problems that bother us, so that we go out and seek solutions, whether we're thinking about it outside of practice or we're taking reps to intentionally figure it out in practice. Now the coach-directed goal, I think we're close to. I think that I see you guys really working hard on some of the things that you've been thinking about. Coach-directed goal is more difficult and different than a player-directed goal because generally your coach is giving you something to work on that you don't value as much as the coach does. It's something like, yeah, I kind of suck at that and it's okay with me. I don't need to be good at that. I think I can do without that. And the coach goes, I think this is really killing you more than you understand. So it tends to be something that people don't want to remember, which is what makes it harder to keep in your head and to keep as a part of your practice and work hard at it. Now, these are obvious, we've talked about those. But having a plan, I have another thing here, now. Have a plan now. So plans are changing all the time. Like even though you might have a player-directed goal to really work on getting your arms out early, before that ball has even crossed the net for passing. If you've been beaten a couple times on the serve, you may have to change that plan now to get back some of the accuracy or consistency that you lack in the moment. So let's say you're getting beaten a little bit. Maybe you got to scrap your plan of getting those arms out early and just do whatever you got to do to make the ball go up and forward a few times until your confidence comes back. Okay? Maybe you're working on the cross-court hit for your player-directed goal or your coach-directed goal, but this team really sets up a lot of cross-court and leaves a lot of line. So right now might not be the best time to work on the cross-court hit with a team that's pretty much set up against it, whether they've done it intentionally or not. Okay, you've got to constantly look at what do I need to do right now? I know I have this overarching goal, but what do I have to do right now to keep my consistency and keep my confidence so that I can be good and awesome? So that plan can change all the time. It isn't necessarily the same thing all the way the day through. In practices, it usually can be, but in competition, that might change. Now, one of the ways that we fail to have a plan is we kind of forget and we just kind of do stuff because the game is fast and I don't know, there's a lot going on and I don't know, and we get overwhelmed. So I'm going to go over a couple of things that maybe can help you to have a plan. And one of the things you can always do, as a great plan is to work your range. And to work your range means, so let's say you're hitting on the pins. You're hitting on one antenna or the other. And you go up, people tend to go up and around the middle of the court, facing around the middle of the court, and they tend to hit somewhere around the middle of the court. Everybody goes up thinking they can go ahead and go line or go angle, but they usually end up going to the middle of the court if they don't see something obvious. So in other words, they're going up without a plan. You're just kind of going up and you're going to wait and see what happens. Now, when you're amazing and you have huge margins for error and amazing range, you kind of can do that. That can be your plan. If you're more normal, and we are right now, you really kind of need to do one or the other. So when you're going up to hit, you should be orienting towards the cross court, being ready at the seam in the block, or orienting towards the line, being ready to hit the seam in the block. 2 options works for most human players. 3 is for fairly exceptional ones, to have them work on a regular basis at least. So working your range means to orient in hitting on one extreme or the other to make it easy. Okay, for passing, working your range means to step up a little closer in the court on serve receive so that ball is not here, but it's up here. Okay, you're working on getting better at something you might not be perfect at. For probably a pretty solid year while I was working on this, because it was so darn hard for me, I would step up in the court so that more balls would pass me by up there in practice and in drills. And I got a ton of work at this until the point that it wasn't a big deal anymore. Then I had to work my range down low and falling down diving. That was another range. There's the high range, there's the low range. There's everything that's not the middle that you're good at that you need to work in all your skills. Now for the setters, I'm working on higher balls now, jump setting and balls further away from their head. And we're working on lower balls, balls near their chest or that they would have to fall over after setting for. Whatever you're bad at, just work on one of those. And that is a great plan. Another way that you can have a plan is to, again, aim for something you don't want to hit something you do want. Now, I was talking to specifically Val this weekend. She crushed a one. She crushed a quick set that was just fun for all of us, and none more so than her because, again, these middles have been working so hard. Val and I happened to be talking, and she said she thought she was way early, but it ended up being the perfect timing. I said, well, that's kind of what I've been talking about. You aim for something you don't want to get something you do want. You know, if you're always late on those ones, just aim to be early and see if you can finally nail the timing. And so competition is such a great place to learn because we're so desperate to succeed. And things are quick and fast and weird and exciting. And so mistakes can happen. And that was a great mistake. She was earlier than she wanted to be, or maybe she aimed to be super early. I don't know. But she thought she was too early and finally learned where on time was. This is great. So when you're looking for a plan, don't get frustrated with, well, why can't I, pass this ball to the setter? It's always behind the setter. Well, again, stop aiming for the setter and aim out in front of her because we know that the higher you go, the more the ball wants to curl off towards the right. So you guys just having a plan, a lot of it's being willing to take your opinion and then watch reality and say, well, my opinion is clearly wrong on this one. So even though I think I'm right, a reality keeps saying I'm wrong. I think I'm on time, but I keep being late. I'll just try something stupid, something I don't think will work. Do something you don't think will work on the far side of which version of wrong you are. In Valerie's case, just be stupid early. I've had kids try to jump and land before the ball got there, and that's when they found out how to be on time for a one. They were shocked that the ball was right there. So you guys, we all have opinions. Just go ahead and if things aren't working, your plan can be aim for something stupid that's not the side that you're missing to. It's not the right if you've been missing the right, it's the left. It's not the late if you've been late, it's the early. It's not the high if you've been high, it's the low. Whatever it is, part of having a plan is being willing to accept a plan that sounds and feels dumb because it has to be wrong because it's not your opinion. But it agrees with what reality is telling you. And in Valerie's case, be stupid dumb early, and all of a sudden, you figured it out. Awesome. So we had some refs at this last tournament that were in a hurry to get home. And I got to tell you, that's kind of par for the course for how volleyball is going to be for you guys. Number one, refs are human and they've had long days. And the faster they get these matches over, the sooner they can go home and go to sleep. And I don't fault them for that. But number two, they have been told, because I've been in these meetings when I was a referee, they have been told by the tournament directors, keep the games moving. Like they've been trained as referees to do things as fast as they can handle it. As fast as the teams will get the ball back, serve. As fast as things can go, get them going. So when we had a tournament where we had refs that were going quickly, that's going to be the norm. Get used to it. Now, the reason I bring it up is because some of us felt behind the game. I mentioned this a few times in the last week. Behind the game means you're not quite ready. You're ready. You're going to go past, you're going to go set, you're going to go hit. But here's the thing that will explain why this feels this way in your head. You never have a plan. For those of you that are used to having a little bit of time to think, where you're more comfortable, or at least you had an idea of what you might do, When the game gets fast, when you're behind the game, what that means is all planning is gone and you're just reacting and you're just hoping to do well and there's no intention to what you're doing. It's just, well, I got to pass. Oh, I got to hit or I got to set. And you're not awful because you're talented athletes. So this is the problem with being athletic. You can not do much and still be somewhat successful or not understand why you lost. Well, if two exactly equal teams are playing and one team has the ability to have a plan, no matter what it is, well, I don't care if it's the whole team shares a plan or each individual kid has their own plans, and this team feels a little bit behind the game, this team loses 100% of the time. Absolutely. So when you feel behind the game, you have to take a second and maybe you have to talk less if you're a setter to your hitters. Maybe you have to stop and high-fiving and just get to see that server. Plan out all the different places that you have to go. It's me. Plan out all the different places that you have to go or moves you might have to make and get that in your head before the serve comes. Whatever you have to do, then that's what you need to do. You can't afford to end up behind the game because you'll lose your ability to have a plan. And having a plan is what makes extraordinary people extraordinary quicker than people that don't. And lastly, just to kind of take some of the pressure off this have a plan thing, your plan does not have to be amazing. Okay, starting with a 2, that's a plan. Okay, when you're passing and you start with, it's not going backwards, it's all I know right now, and you're doing everything you can to get your body, your feet, your hips, and your arms behind that ball, that's a great plan until you have need for a better one. So not being perfect, backing off, sounds like a terrible plan to a lot of kids because they're like, well, I want to be great. Well, you start being great by never sucking. That's how you do it. So a great plan is, no matter what it takes, this ball is going up and forward and it's going in between those 4 spots that our setters keep practicing setting balls from. Because if I can get it in there a lot of the time, which is a huge area, by the way, it's a huge area, then our setters will be better and we'll be better. And if we're better and we're confident, I might be able to aim a little more because I've been having such a good day. So having a plan does not need to be elaborate. It does not need to be amazing. It does not mean that my plan is to be great at this. No, 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 no. Your plan can be to stop sucking. And that's an okay plan. Starting with a 2 is more than just passing. When I hit, I'm going to just orient to the extreme cross. And if it's there, I'm just going to hit it all day long. I know players that literally do this. Their plan is, I'm going to orient to this extreme, and I'm just going to do it until somebody finally stops me. And if they do, I'm still going to do it again until they stop me again. If they stop me twice, then maybe I'll just orient to the other side. And they've worked so hard to get in the way over here. There's wide open lanes here. Starting with a 2 is a great plan. And it's not just passing that means start with a 2. It means start with, I have this plan. Let's be consistent with it. Go for amazing and incredible, altercations of the plan later. Have a plan. Doesn't need to be incredible. There you go. So hopefully in the next practice, you guys will be able to keep your player-directed goals in your mind, and that will be the plan to start. You'll be willing to change things up as you see the need during practice, even if it's only for a couple of reps or a couple of minutes at a time, and then go back to that plan. But you'll be willing to have a plan because that's what amazing players do. They have something in their head, like, well, I'm going to do this unless there's another really good reason to change. Well, I'm going to shoot for this because I need to work on it. Well, I'm going to shoot for this because I'm a little weak at it. Well, I'm going to shoot for this because at least it's better than the, I don't know, that I was doing before. I'm going to have that plan in my head instead of letting the game control me. I'm going to go out and exert my control over the game. Hopefully you'll be able to hear some of these things and they'll make more sense than they have in the past now that we've been through a tournament, because boy, oh boy, we have work to do before the next tournament. All right, I'll see you at practice.